We're here at the International Hotel Investment Forum 2015 in Berlin to focus on the service apartment sector and all the deals that are happening in the space. Join me.
About why you commissioned it and what the key findings were.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we wanted to understand more about millennial travellers because we recognise they're a key cohort coming through for the business travel community to consider. So we went out and commissioned the research via YouGov so we could really understand what they were looking for, what they wanted, what was important to them when they're travelling. And we're on a bit of a mission to reshape our business to make it fit for multi-generational travellers, but in particular exploring what this particular cohort set of travellers want. So we were delighted with what came back and found it fascinating and interesting, and we are using that to reshape what we're doing as we move forward in terms of not just properties we're developing, but also our digital infrastructures and platforms. We're launching a new seikoapartments.com in May, very much with that kind of generation in mind in terms of how they want to book, communicate, research and find out about serviced apartments. And lots of the evidence coming through from the white paper supports what we're doing, which is fantastic.
Were there any particularly surprises in the research?
Yeah. Despite
someone trying to make you laugh?
No, not at all. I just like, no. The thing, well, no, what makes me laugh is that we kind of think they're really into tech and want everything digital, which they do, to be fair, but the thing they want above anything else is a really comfortable bed to sleep in, which is sort of very reassuring in one way, that doesn't matter how old you are, that's still really important, a good night's sleep. But of course they do want to have fantastic access to technology so that they can do whatever they want with technology when they get to their hotel room. It's not particularly about having Sky TV, but being able to access whatever digital platforms they want when they get in from work or continue working or whatever.
Do you think a lot of the cautious investor interest that's been around for the last couple of years is now starting to be converted into solid action and we're seeing deals done? I think that momentum will continue.
I've always believed that this sector needs to take something that is claimed to be uncomplicated, how to be different, rather than simplifying it, making it understood. So when you get to the point of understanding in a simpler, wider range of communication, then investors start to listen. Because at the end of the day, it's a drive on yield, and money will follow yield. And yield has to be simple. It has to have a simple value proposition, a strong covenant, a great return, and that reputation is starting to take foot. Like for an example, 3 years ago when we first participated at IHIF, you could hear a pin drop around our booth. Today, we're inundated with appointments, with a high level of understanding by investors as to what we do and where we fit in their investment stack. Be it when they're looking at an office building, it's no longer just a hotel conversion or leave it as an office. It could be our product, it could be a hostel, it could be what Generator's doing. It's a wider communication, a wider berth for more ships, more boats to park in the harbour, and that's really encouraging.
Talking of yield and potential new markets, obviously the US and Asia are quite developed markets for this concept. Europe, restaurant. Where else do you think we should be looking? Where do you think British will be planting flags 5 years from now, 10 years from now, where you haven't been so far?
You know, it's interesting when you start with the consumer. So we just published our 2015 Business Insight, our Bridge Street IQ survey. And what was very interesting to us is that we had 70 nationalities participate. Africa is really starting to show up on the list. So as that market matures, and when we say Africa, there's probably 5 or 6 major countries: Morocco, Tanzania, Kenya, South Africa. But you know, countries like Chad are showing up as more and more investment is going into the countries, and there's stable regimes, stable legal systems. I do think that the early adopters that went into Africa, that type of market now is developing into more conventional, stable market. I think we all need to take a more serious look at that. Equally, there's still tremendous opportunity in China, but more so close to home in India. We're operating We have brands that we have now placed, buildings that are coming out of the ground in Delhi. Significant market, over a billion people, hundreds of thousands coming to the middle class every day. Extraordinary connections between IT services and back office services that are now maturing, that are sending their own staff into many of our apartments to support businesses throughout the world. Now it's time in reverse. Their apartment and business development is now progressing with it has to work from a legal perspective. The new Prime Minister Modi is certainly accelerating the facilitation of getting business done, permits, etc. So there's a couple of really hot pockets that are stable, long-term, safe investments.
Come to the extended stay segment, which is very well established in the States. Do you have any plans to enter into that market in Europe?
Yeah, the Europe market is very different from the United States. For one, land is far more expensive here, and for that concept to work, you need bigger guest rooms and bigger lobbies. And so the concept is not as well received here in Europe as in the United States. In the United States, we have one already open, we have 6 in the pipeline. So it's been pretty decent launch. It's only been about a year, so I think that's pretty successful launch.
Do you think we'll see the brand in Europe eventually?
Well, I think so. I heard from some of my colleagues here that there's some interest, although it's not like Vibe. Vibe is definitely something that a lot of people are very keen on.
Max, you've launched your Beyond brand here at IHIF today. Can you tell us a bit about the concept and why you've launched it and the thinking behind it?
Outside of that, we also wanted to challenge the experience. So the experience isn't just in the room. The experience is also about how you interact with the brand. And that's from booking through to your departure. So we wanted to make sure that we, at a digital level, we have an application which allows you to book from your mobile device. When you arrive at a Beyond or Apart hotel, there will be a a check-in kiosk. So you'll be able to check in remotely at the kiosk, or if you prefer, traditionally with the front desk. Outside of that, inside the room, we have put a very clever PMS system in, which will advise you as a guest if you're pacing above the average consumption for the building and your consumption of power. So it'll go green and or red, which will enable you to manage your own consumption, and it's part of our want to make sure that as a group we look after the planet as well as our guests.
Middle East, Dubai particularly.
Yes,
does the product out there differ from what you need in Europe and the specifications?
It's true that it's a little different. We have just opened the first property of our new brand, I would say, because we have one core brand which is Adagio and an economy brand which is Adagio Access. But we just opened last October our first Adagio Premium in Doha, Qatar. We'll be opening the second one in Dubai this month, the month of March. The second Adagio Premium. So the specific brand is for the moment, limited. Its development is limited in the Middle East and in Latin America. But we're also developing core brand Adagio, I would say, in the Middle East. Many times in mixed-use projects, with our core brands, with ibises or hotels, and it's really. Something that's really a lot of success, because it enables, of course, to have different markets on the same location, but also to have, in terms of financing and funding, also some additional advantages, because, of course, as everybody knows, the extended stay and apart hotel segment, brings a lot of return. So our development in Middle East is quite strong.
Marco, can you tell us a bit about the demand for brand residences in the Middle Eastern market and why you have chosen to enter that particular market?
Well, originally from a design perspective, we've been in that business for quite a while. That's where we made a claim to fame, was basically the shared responsibility with the partner, the developer, and us doing the design for branded residences, etc. We think that design brings value to the brand, and in terms of residential space, it is that extra value that you can bring that makes it more attractive for the developer. That's the reason why we're in it, because at the end of the day we believe there's a market for it, and over the past 14 years from a design point of view we've done it. Now over the past 3 years in the hotel business we're doing it, where we're opening up our first hotel in Boracay. It's basically a condo hotel, residences sold with the design and the value. Phuket will follow after that. So it's really the niche that we want to be in.
Can you tell us a little bit about your Dubai project, the project with Daya?
Fantastic project. We did the design with some great developers there. The thing sold out in 5 hours and 25 minutes. That was how fast it took. Now, that's Dubai. It's a great environment, but people start believing that the differentiation is no longer just the name. It is the quality and the name combined that actually brings value, and Daya has clearly see that. And we're talking now, we're still in discussions with them about additional projects there, about residential, branded residential space.
I know you mentioned that Amsterdam has a new policy regarding apartment hotels and service departments, preferring one over the other. Can you explain why that was brought in and what effect it's had?
Well, the basics is that we have a new hotel policy, and the hotel policy focuses on quality over quantity. So we are supporting new and innovative hotel projects that add something special to the hotel market and to the environment. And in regards to service apartments versus apartment hotels, we have stopped the permits for service apartments, so there are no more permits for service apartments, but we are motivating developers to build apartment hotels. So those are hotels on a hotel zoning that are focusing more on a somewhat extended stay, usually with a little kitchenette in the room, a sitting area in the room, etc., etc. Sometimes the rooms have 2 bedrooms, and there's a lot of political support for the development of these types of apartment hotels in Amsterdam.
And how about the developer appetite? How have they reacted to the law? Is there a pipeline of these projects being built at the moment?
Yeah, the interesting thing is the first developers were actually local developers or operators that were running serviced apartments. They're now developing apartment hotels, such as Jay's, which is of the short stay group in Amsterdam. And now we see larger international firms such as Ascot, Frasers, Element coming to the city to have a look what the possibilities are. And we have about, I would say, 5 apartment hotels already open and about 6 in the pipeline. And there's always new locations that can be found for new projects.
So tell me about Amara Suites.
Thanks, Piers. Amara Suites is the leading provider of service apartments in West Africa. We've seen 50% growth in the last year. We're operating in Lagos. We're the largest provider in Lagos, and we're looking to expand into Abuja and Accra, Ghana.
Okay, and what are the challenges in the space in West Africa, and why are you here at IHIF?
So for us, we've always seen Africa as an opportunity. We have this huge demographic growth. There's an emerging middle class. So for us, we've come to IHF to learn best practices, international best practice. For us, Africa, we've felt has been neglected, ignored for a long time. There are not too many providers of international accommodation solutions, either hotels or service apartments. And we found out that there's a big gap in the marketplace for service apartments, long stays. Most of the traffic, most of the folks coming to Africa are typically business folks. Most of our clientele are multinationals, and we're seeing very high levels of occupancy. And so we've been vindicated in terms of our strategy. And I think being here in Berlin, we're meeting with a lot of international business partners. We have a lot of referral business from some of the leading service apartment providers in Europe. I think that's good as we become larger and larger, as we expand across Africa. That's going to be more of the same. We're also talking to investors as well. We're looking at investors, since most of our clients are multinationals. Our investors find that compelling.
We found out about the Seiko factory deal. Can you tell us the thinking behind it and what synergies the deal will bring to the 2 parties and how you'll operate going forward?
Well, apologies for throwing you a curveball. It only got concluded late last night, and as such we couldn't throw you a curveball any quicker. We would have hoped to have released the news a bit earlier, but we were busy watching the rugby, so we threw the curveball this morning. What's the idea, what's the logic behind it? Well, Oak Tree Capital through Central London Service Departments have been putting together the fantastic Beyond the brand, and we of course have been very eagerly watching how it's been developing, and we've been talking to Oaktree about how a bit of assistance, and the thinking basically is that we can fast track the growth of the brand through our operating platform, and that thought process developed into Oaktree merging with Seiko in order to create a hospitality brand which will incorporate the Beyonder brand as well as a multitude of other offerings. So it becomes a platform for hospitality growth.
Bridge Street's always had a very strong corporate traveller base. Just wondering how the leisure travel proportion of your business has changed in the light of the new brands launched, and also of increased general awareness of the sector.
Right, another good question. So if you look at, we published our business leisure data and survey back in November, and what was clear from that, the customer that we have today, and you're seeing this in a lot of the disruption brands, for want of a coin a phrase, but look at Airbnb. That same customer that's staying with us between Monday through Thursday is likely, if they're staying in situ, to seek an experience, which they may well then do, which we're finding that the majority of our customers are utilizing their stay as an adjunct to their business stay. Their employers are fine with that. So they're now going, if you're in London, I might go to Paris for the weekend. I might go to Edinburgh. If I'm in New York, I'll go to DC. That is a core portion of a beleaguered and tired traveller trying to find respite and time impoverished to take advantage of that. The data we're finding is that that's a clear indication of a change. 15% of our mix is leisure and experiential, so this is going to accelerate as customers self-select and they want to do something and have an experience in the middle of a business trip.
So the boundary between the two customers...
They're blurring, hence we called it Bleisure.